Councilwoman Gim.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. Happy Thursday.
Good morning.
Councilman Heenan.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. Hope everybody is well. Look forward to a very productive session.
Absolutely.
Councilman Jones.
Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, Philadelphia. I want you to mask up and vote by mail.
There you go. Awesome.
Councilman O. Councilman O. Councilman O'Neill.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm sorry, it's Councilman O. Had a little technical difficulty here. I'm on.
Gotcha.
Councilwoman Parker.
Good morning, Mr. President and colleagues and Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson. I like that. Not good morning, America. Good morning, Philadelphia.
There you go.
Councilwoman Galina Sanchez.
Good morning, colleagues, and I want to thank everyone for their patience this morning. We're going to get to your business.
There you go.
Councilman Squilla.
Good morning, Council President and colleagues. Happy to be here. Looking forward to continue our work.
Good morning.
Councilman Thomas.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. Excited to be here and ready to do the work.
Good morning.
Council President Clark.
And I'm here. And we're going to get started. So the quorum of council is present, and we will now come to order. Despite the great need, there will be no invocation today. We will, however, observe a very brief moment of silent prayer for our city, its leaders, and citizens during the current public health crisis. We will now observe a moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you very much. Our next order of business is the approval of the journal of the meeting of Friday, May 1st, 2020. And the chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the journal of the meeting on Friday, May 1st, 2020 be approved.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly seconded that the journal of the meeting of Friday, May 1st, 2020 stand approved. All those in favor will indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it, and the journal is approved. And our next order of business is the request for leave of absence, and the chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the members of council, a leave of absence is requested for Councilman Johnson, and we also keep him in our prayers.
Absolutely. Chair thanks to Councilwoman, and leave will be granted for Councilman Johnson, and our prayers, as you say, to he and his family. Our next order of business is communications. Does the clerk have messages from the mayor or any other messages in his possession? And if so, please read those messages. Mr. Decker, we're not hearing you. We're not hearing you.
To the President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, per your request that my administration note all business before council that should be considered related to our response to the pandemic or otherwise necessary to allow for expedited action, I respectfully request and submit for the consideration of your honorable body a resolution approving the Director of Finance's Budget Stabilization Reserve Fund withdrawal certification for purposes of allowing utilization of $34,276,000 in the reserve fund for general fund purposes in connection with the FY 2021 operating budget. And an ordinance authorizing the Director of Planning and Development on behalf of the city to file applications with the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development for a community development block grant, to file applications to participate in the Home Investment Partnership Program and the Emergency Solutions Grant Program, and to apply for a Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS grant, and to file applications with the Commonwealth to obtain grants under the Act of April 12, 1956, to prevent and eliminate blight. And an ordinance approving a substantial amendment to the Annual Action Plan 2019 through 2020 to add $40 million to $410,779 in federal coronavirus aid, relief, and economic security act, CARES funding, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. And our next order of business is the introduction of bills and resolutions. And Mr. Decker, will you please read the titles of the legislation that is being offered today by the council members?
Councilwoman Parker offers on behalf of Council President Clark a non-privileged resolution entitled "A Resolution Approving the Director of Finance's Budget Stabilization Reserve Fund Withdrawal Certification for purposes of allowing utilization of $34,276,000 in the reserve fund for general fund purposes in connection with the FY 2021 operating budget."
And that will be heard at our next session of council.
Councilwoman Gim offers an ordinance amending the Philadelphia Code to add a new chapter entitled Employee Protections in Connection with COVID-19 Emergency Health Order to provide workplace protections in emergency health orders and regulations, provide protections for employees against retaliatory action, both for the disclosure of information related to employer noncompliance with such orders, and for refusal to work under unsafe conditions caused by noncompliance with such orders.
That will be referred to the appropriate committee.
And a non-privileged resolution condemning any and all racist and xenophobic rhetoric against Asian and Asian American communities amid the rise of COVID-19, and expressing appreciation for the resilience, support, and contributions of the City of Philadelphia's Asian American and Chinese American communities.
That will be on our next session of council.
Councilman Heenan offers a privileged resolution recognizing May 17 to May 23, 2020 as National Emergency Medical Services Week in the City of Philadelphia, and further honoring the Philadelphia paramedics on the front lines of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Today's calendar.
Councilman Jones offers a privileged resolution authorizing the joint city council committees on public safety and commerce and economic development to hold public hearings on the safe reopening of small businesses along commercial corridors, particularly restaurants that were affected by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Today's calendar.
And a privileged resolution recognizing and honoring the Share Food Program for providing emergency food relief to the vulnerable populations of Philadelphia over the past 34 years, and for further increasing their efforts to bring nutritious food to our communities during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Today's calendar.
Councilman Green offers on behalf of Council President Clark an ordinance approving a substantial amendment to the Annual Action Plan 2019 through 2020 to add $40,410,779 in federal coronavirus aid, relief, and economic security act CARES funding. And also, that Councilman Green, on behalf of Council President Clark, offers an ordinance authorizing the Director of Planning and Development on behalf of the city to file applications with the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development for a Community Development Block Grant, to file applications to participate in the Home Investment Partnership Program and the Emergency Solutions Grant Program, and to apply for a Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS grant, and to file applications with the Commonwealth to obtain grants under the Act of April 12, 1956 to prevent and eliminate blight.
Refer to committee.
Councilman Green also offers a privileged resolution authorizing the Committees on Finance and Commerce and Economic Development to hold joint hearings regarding Philadelphia's safe, equitable, and robust economic recovery from the coronavirus pandemic.
Today's calendar.
Councilman Dom offers a non-privileged resolution calling on the Mayor of Philadelphia to formally appoint a Provisional Chief Recovery Officer position in the Department of Finance, responsible for the management and administration of all federal and state grants or otherwise categorized COVID-19 financial recovery dollars to the City of Philadelphia until the Mayor and City Council do so jointly determine that the position shall be dissolved.
Refer to the next session of council.
Councilman Thomas offers a privileged resolution authorizing City Council's Committee on Public Health and Human Services to hold hearings regarding the disproportionate number of seniors in congregate care settings who have passed away as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Today's calendar.
Councilman O offers a privileged resolution authorizing the Committee on Global Opportunities and the Creative Innovative Economy to hold public hearings on plans, procedures, and global best practices for restarting the economy in the wake of the novel coronavirus pandemic.
Today's calendar.
Councilman O offers a non-privileged resolution calling on the Kenny administration to delay the elimination of the Office of Arts, Culture, and the Creative Economy, including its workforce and the Philadelphia Cultural Fund, the principal supporters for the city's $3.4 billion creative arts industry, generating annual tax revenue of $157 million until council completes the city's fiscal year 2021 budget and recovery plan for the COVID-19 pandemic. Council President Clark, Councilman O would like to be recognized for a motion on this resolution.
Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much, Council President. I move to suspend the rules of council so as to permit consideration of this resolution on today's final passage calendar.
Second.
Been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Yeah. Those opposed? Ayes have it. That will be on today's final passage calendar.
There are no other bills or resolutions being offered by the members today, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. Today, we have no reports from committee. So we will now proceed under a special order of business. A motion to add one additional meeting to the schedule of council sessions for the year 2020. This motion reflects the fact that this may well be the most challenging budget any of us have ever faced, and I would like to take the may. It will be the most challenging budget any of us have ever faced, and we do so under unique and very difficult conditions. There is important work to do before adopting a final operating budget and related revenue measures for the city. At this time, the chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. On your behalf, I wish to add an additional meeting to the schedule of council sessions for the year 2020, and accordingly, I move that the council meet on Thursday, June 25th, 2020 at 10 a.m. to conduct a regular council session.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly seconded that the council meet on Thursday, June 25th, 2020 at 10 a.m. to conduct a regular council session. To be sure, we have a clear majority on this motion. We will take a roll call vote. Please note that a vote of aye is a vote in favor of the motion that council meet on Thursday, June 25th, 2020 at 10 a.m. to conduct a regular council session. A vote of nay is a vote to defeat the motion. The clerk will now call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass?
Aye.
Councilwoman Brooks?
Aye.
Councilman Dom?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gautier?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson?
Aye.
Councilman Green? Councilwoman Gim?
Aye.
Councilman Heenan?
Aye.
Councilman Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman O?
Aye.
Councilman O'Neill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Parker?
Aye.
Councilwoman Quinones Sanchez?
Aye.
Councilman Squilla?
Aye. Aye.
Councilman Thomas?
Aye.
Council President Clark?
Aye. Did Councilman Green respond, Mr. Decker?
Councilmember Green, aye as well.
Okay, thank you. Ayes are 16 and nays are 0. Majority of all members having voted in the affirmative, the motion carries, and the council will meet on Thursday, June 25th, 2020 at 10 a.m. to conduct a regular session of council. Thank you all very much. The next order of business is the consideration of the calendar. There are no bills on the first reading calendar today. So today, we are only considering those legislative matters on the second reading and final passage calendar that directly pertain to the COVID-19 crisis. There are 4 such matters on the calendar. The prime sponsors of those matters have already communicated their desire to have those matters considered today. I therefore recognize Councilwoman Parker for the purpose of calling up those matters from the second reading and final passage calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. The following resolutions are being called up from the second reading and final passage calendars today. They are numbers 200308, 200311, 200312, and 200313. All other resolutions and bills are being held.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Before considering these resolutions, we will consider public comment as follows. Under normal circumstances, public comment must concern matters on the second reading and final passage calendars for possible action at a session of council. A speaker on any of these matters must sign up in order to testify. You must call 215-686-3406 by 5 p.m. the day before the session to sign up for public comment. When you call, we will take your name, phone number, the number of the legislative item you are commenting on, and whether you are in support or against the legislation add on the list. We will telephone each person on the list during the council session and invite them to our remote meeting. Under ideal circumstances, they will each have 3 minutes to speak. However, given the time limit, we may vary from the session to session. Today, I believe we have 5 members, so we will allow 3 minutes to testify. 5 members. Thank you very much. We will start the timer once your name is called, and when the 3 minutes are up, we'd ask that you please adhere to our guidelines. Mr. Decker, would you please call the first name on the list?
Madeline Shakomba. Madeline Shakomba.
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, please proceed.
All right.
Did you hear?
All right.
Yeah,
This is Mr. Cumber speaking, yes. I'm speaking on resolution number 200311 concerning landlords. Basically, I do support all the resolutions. I do think they should show some compassion for people who, during COVID, have lost their jobs or been unemployed, and this is no time for them to be evicting people. I also have a problem with City Council. They need to share the same thing, show compassion. Are you getting ready to pass extended tax abatement for people who, this is ridiculous. How can you extend the tax abatement when we are in bad shape with money? Okay, this is terrible. Also, you want to provide, by extending tax abatement, these people won't be paying taxes. We are short of money. I am extremely angry because some of your agencies are now spending money that they got for this year and sending it out on trivial matters. One is sustainability, sending out, let me calm myself down because I get mad. They're sending out mailings concerning some survey on Washington Avenue, spending out money that we need so badly for so many other things. You need to check your agencies and find out what they're doing with the money that they haven't spent for this year and how they're trying to get rid of it so they can get some more money. Where from? Anyway, we all need to show compassion, especially for the poor senior citizens like myself, and disabled people, instead of me running around here playing with our money like you are. Stop this nonsense. I'm tired of having to pay for things to the extent that you want us to pay, and we are not receiving any relief.
Thank you.
Please be compassionate to us. As you want the landlords to be compassionate to the tenants, we ask that you be compassionate to the citizens of Philadelphia and check yourself on what you're spending our money on. And I mean, check yourself. This is ridiculous. And this is not right for you to have money that was not spent. And now you have these agencies running out here spending money just to get rid of it so they can have an empty budget. Give me a break. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you for your comment.
Victor Pinkney.
Anonymous is now exiting.
Victor Pinkney. Lonnie, is Mr. Pinkney connected? Brianna Westbrooks.
Good morning, members of City Council. My name is Brianna Westbrooks, and I represent the Pennsylvania Apartment Association. I am commenting in support of Resolution 200311. Throughout this crisis, members of the Pennsylvania Apartment Association and property owners throughout the city have proactively worked with and collaborated with Philadelphians. Resolution 200311 refers to the letter that the Attorney General Shapiro and the Pennsylvania Apartment Association co-signed together. We are very appreciative of our dialogue between our organization and the governor's office. Not only have we been working with residents to create payment plans that meet the needs of both renters and property owners, but we have also been working at the state and federal level to advocate for rental assistance for residents. In addition, the governor recently announced that the state will be issuing rent rebates early. This action, as well as additional funding towards housing from both the state and federal government, will help Philadelphians during this time. However, we do know that more can be done. The Pennsylvania Apartment Association wants to work in collaboration with all levels of government to make sure that residents and property owners receive the resources necessary to support Philadelphia. We look forward to continuing to work with you all to find solutions that keep both renters and property owners in mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony, ma'am.
I'll call Victor Pinkney again.
Hello?
Victor Pinkney.
Yes, this is, I couldn't get through before, but this is Victor Pinkney Sr. I'd like to thank the council president and council for allowing me to speak with reference reference to Resolution 200311.
Please proceed.
Say again?
No, I said please proceed.
Okay. It covers the recommendation made by Attorney General Shapiro that property owners should work with their tenants during the COVID crisis by waiving late fees for residents who have provided documentation of financial hardships in course of COVID, create payment plans for them, and help them find resources to help them with expenses. Something HAPCO has been telling members to do since the beginning of the emergency. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pinkney.
Brian Jackson. Brian Jackson.
Can you hear me now?
We hear you.
How you doing? My name is Brian Jackson. I appreciate your time. I currently own and manage properties in several of the council members' districts. I wanted to call to speak in support of Resolution 200311, which obviously addresses the guidance issued by Pennsylvania AG Shapiro in April that encouraged property owners to work with renters during this pandemic. Right now, and for the past few months, we have been working with residents and to help them identify resources that would better suit their needs in this time of crisis, considering all of what we're all going through. So I support this resolution. I know that teamwork between all of us during this pandemic is important, and we have to continue this as we move forward. I personally have even been spending time with other landlords like myself to help them specifically deal with their tenants, because everyone's situation is different, and we need to understand that. That is the best course of action, in my opinion, that we work with our tenants as landlords, not issue new legislation that will cause us to put us all in financial burden. Although the federal government and the state government have dedicated more resources to Philadelphians, I'm aware that more can be done to help everyone. We look forward to working with the elected officials on every level and to make sure that renters and property owners receive the attention, resources, and funding we need to get through this. I appreciate everyone's time and thank you for the opportunities to express my support.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Thank you for your testimony.
Robert Levin.
This is Robert Levin.
Morning.
Good morning. I'm speaking in favor of Councilman Dom's resolution 200311. Good morning, esteemed members of council. Thank you for having my colleagues and me with you today, albeit not in person. My 111-year-old fourth-generation real estate company handles multifamily investment building and management in council districts 1, 2, and 3, Mr. Squila, Mr. Johnson, Mrs. Blackwell. I also sit on the board of directors of HAPCO Philadelphia, which is the largest landlord advocacy group in Philadelphia. HAPCO Philadelphia represents nearly 2,000 rental property owners that own or manage nearly 20,000 low to moderate and market rate single-family and multifamily properties in the city. Those of us in the real estate industry in Philadelphia have long been singled out as seemingly endless sources of stopgap funding when the city is cash-strapped. And there have been many, many budget woes over the years, especially now in the COVID-19 world we're all struggling with. The housing sector is a resilient one and has been able to weather ups and downs of the local economy with aplomb, though it has not been easy. Ever-increasing taxes and regulations stifle initiative. However, in the light of the overwhelming pandemic-related issues we face now, I join my colleagues today to affirm Councilman Dom's resolution. Mr. Dom's resolution is a logical, person-first approach that I and most of my contemporaries believe is the most considerate way to help our fellow man during the pandemic. By readily agreeing to tenant-specific rental payment workouts and other thoughtful concessions like waiving late payment fees, landlords and tenants are better able to cope with overwhelming circumstances that both landlords and tenants face right now. It is important that landlords, tenants, and governing bodies recognize and respect each other's liabilities and limitations. Further, knowledgeable and experienced landlords who have contacts in the community and different levels of government and can clearly communicate and pass along vital information such as available financial assistance and programs from government and charitable and trade organizations are better positioned to help tenants remain current on their rent and solvent and safely sheltered, and also be able to help themselves by having rent-producing, tax-producing properties that enable owners to pay not only costs of property upkeep and operation, but also their own bills and feed their own families. Finally, there's been a lot of talk at all levels of government about allotments of cash, grants, and loans to be coming down the pike. It's been slow and confusing at times and likely will continue to be so, as nothing like this has ever been tried. It's understandable that there will be stunts and starts. As a community of people, businesses, and consumers, we need to work together with all stakeholders. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your testimony.
Mr. President, as there are no other speakers, with your permission, I'll release the public commenters and allow them to disconnect. As they disconnect, there will be a brief disruptive message coming from Microsoft Teams as multiple people leave the meeting.
So granted.
Public commenters, you are now released from the meeting. You may hang up.
Brian Jackson.
Is now exiting.
Please proceed.
That it? Everyone off, Mr. Decker?
Yes, Mr. President.
Thank you. We will now consider the resolutions on the second reading and then final passage calendar. Mr. Decker, can you please read the title of resolution number 200308?
A resolution calling on the United States Congress and the Pennsylvania General Assembly to take immediate action to provide municipalities a comprehensive relief package to stabilize the local rental housing market and support property owners.
And the chair recognizes Councilwoman Kim for a motion on the resolution.
Thank you very much, Council President. And I'd like to acknowledge the previous public speakers who emphasized the importance of state and federal relief to complement what we are doing here in the city of Philadelphia. We compliment Attorney General Shapiro for his letter that publicly called for an extension of the eviction moratorium, the waiving of late fees, installment payment plans, and important measures to provide the thousands and thousands of renters who comprise almost half of Philadelphia households to be protected in this time. And I'm glad to say that our city council body is actually leading on that by putting these things into action on the Emergency Housing Protections Act, which has a hearing next Friday in the Committee on Housing. But most importantly, we want the state and the federal government to provide for this. This past week, the House bill passed a $100 billion package to provide renter assistance directly to municipalities, landlords, and renters themselves. It is important that it gets passed in the Senate. The state of Pennsylvania also has $3.9 billion in money, and our Philadelphia delegation has been discussing how some of that money can go directly towards the municipalities for renter relief to support both our landlords and our renters in this important time. I'm proud that we've been at the leadership of it, and I'm grateful for the chance to continue to send this message up to our Harrisburg delegation and to our federal government. And with that, I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second. That resolution be adopted. All in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 200311.
A resolution supporting Pennsylvania Attorney General Josh Shapiro in his call to all landlords in the Commonwealth of and Philadelphia to provide aid to their tenants during the COVID-19 crisis and throughout its aftermath.
And the chair recognizes Councilman Dunn for the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that the resolution be adopted. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, will you please read the title of resolution number 200312?
A resolution urging the President, Senate, and House of Representatives to amend the CARES Act to provide that U.S. citizens with immigrant spouses who file joint taxes are eligible to receive economic stimulus payments for both adults and any dependent children, even if the immigrant spouse does not have a Social Security number.
Chair recognizes Councilman O for a motion.
Thank you very much, Council President. I move that the resolution be passed.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded that the resolution be adopted. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 200313.
A resolution urging the City Health Commissioner to issue an emergency order under the authority vested in Section 6205 and Section 8407 of the Philadelphia Code, requiring hospitals and other healthcare institutions to provide an adequate supply of personal protective equipment, PPE, to employees during the duration of the novel coronavirus pandemic.
And again, Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much, Council President. I move that the resolution be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Clerk, will please read any additional resolutions on today's calendar?
A resolution recognizing May 17 to May 23, 2020 as National Emergency Medical Services Week in the City of Philadelphia, and further honoring the Philadelphia paramedics on the front lines of the COVID-19 pandemic, introduced by Councilman Heenan.
Chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Council President. Before I make the motion, this resolution has been co-signed by the majority of our council members and colleagues here today. And, we have adopted this resolution on a yearly basis, recognizing our EMS workers nationally and locally. Especially during this pandemic, our paramedics and EMS and firefighters respond to nearly 1,000 incidents a day. So that's a daily runs of almost 1,000, and they're responding to all kinds of medical emergencies. And they've been incredible partners in our schools, teaching CPR, stop the bleed, administering Narcan, and training people in our communities and how to use the AED. They've been incredible partners in a program called Act Now with me in my office, certifying nearly 2,500 of our residents in my district, probably around about 2,500 of our community members are now certified in CPR because of their partnerships. They are an incredible assets and dedicated public servants, all right, to the health and welfare and safety of our city. And, when they receive a run and they respond to an incident, there is no social distance. Just like the healthcare workers on the front lines, there is no safety distances and social distances. They respond and they do it well. And I ask my colleagues to support the resolution as I move for the adoption. And I want to thank all our healthcare workers and EMS workers on our front lines and recognizing them on this week. So I move for the adoption.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Aye. Ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
A resolution authorizing the joint city council committees on public safety and commerce and economic development to hold public hearings on the safe reopening of small businesses along commercial corridors, particularly restaurants that were affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, introduced by Councilman Jones.
Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you very much, Mr. President and colleagues. May I just say that we have a complex problem. We have to reopen our economy safely, not driven by false facts, but by science. But I heard from 32 restaurant owners yesterday that talked about losing their life's work. They talked about not opening even after the pandemic is over. I understand clearly and stand with our mayor about not being foolish, like some of our sister and brother cities in Atlantic City and other places. I get it. But when we start talking about Mad River, which closed after a dozen years of operation and they threw in the towel, these restaurants aren't operating on huge margins anyway. And more importantly, they hire people from our neighborhoods. So when we were faced with this pandemic, we had a hard stop to the economy. But what I need to call for in this resolution is more soft rollout openings. Some of these businesses, and my member colleague Don will appreciate, need a little bit of advance notice to know when to bring down the plywood and bring back and rehire the employees to restock the shelves, and they're not getting that kind of indication anywhere. And so this resolution is going to call for us that God knows, we hope and pray this light is at the end of the tunnel. But for some small businesses, Mr. President, it's a train barreling right at their business to take them out. And with that, I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman. It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing and honoring the Share Food Program for providing emergency food relief to the vulnerable populations of Philadelphia over the past 34 years, and for further increasing their efforts to bring nutritious food to our communities during the COVID-19 pandemic. Introduced by Councilman Jones.
Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
Second.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
A resolution authorizing the Committees on Finance and on Commerce and Economic Development to hold joint hearings regarding Philadelphia's safe, equitable, and robust economic recovery from the coronavirus pandemic, introduced by Councilman Green.
Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. As we all know, this COVID-19 pandemic has been a major impact on our city, our state, and our nation, but it's also been an economic calamity. Just yesterday, based according to the Pennsylvania Office of Unemployment Compensation, 1.9 million people in the Commonwealth filed for unemployment. In addition, unfortunately, based on information from the National League of Cities and the Pennsylvania Municipal League, where I serve as an officer in both, Pennsylvania leads the nation in the loss of local government revenue, about $6 billion, which accounts for about 40% of local revenue. So this issue is a very important issue, as Councilmember Jones talked about restaurants, but for all the businesses in our economy, our local economy, we've had to make significant budget cuts based on the mayor's proposal, and we need to make sure that we have a safe and equitable recovery in the city of Philadelphia. The administration is moving forward with guidelines on a reopening plan, and so we need to make sure that we're balancing both the health issues as for reference to physical distancing, to making sure customers and employees and workers are safe, as well as strides for our economic recovery. And so this goal of this committee is to work on these issues, work in conjunction with all of our colleagues, members of the administration, as well as the private sector. And with that, Council President, I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing City Council's Committee on Public Health and Human Services to hold hearings regarding the disproportionate numbers of seniors in congregate care settings who have passed away as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, introduced by Councilman Thomas.
Chair recognizes Councilman Thomas.
Thank you, Council President. I unfortunately and regretfully move for the adoption of the resolution, and my thoughts and prayers go out to all the families who unfortunately have lost loved ones to this unfortunate situation.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and probably second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution has been adopted.
And a resolution authorizing the Committee on Global Opportunities and the Creative, Innovative Economy to hold public hearings on plans, procedures, and global best practices for restarting the economy in the wake of the novel coronavirus pandemic, introduced by Councilman O.
Governor Wolf, talking with Sport League, said it could take until a vaccine for PA to reach.
Okay.
Councilman Squilla, can you mute yourself?
Okay. Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much, Council President. Just briefly, in addition to what everybody is concerned about, reopening our economy, people need jobs, people are in financial, difficulties. It's a pandemic. It's a worldwide situation, and with that, it is important that we look at the new economy from a global perspective, in addition to a local and regional perspective. What have others done that is working? How are they reopening their economy? What opportunities do we have to bring jobs and investment to our city to deal with the new global economy and the way that commerce and manufacturing are going to occur? So with that, I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution calling on the Kenny administration to delay the elimination of the Office of Arts, Culture, and the Creative Economy, including its workforce, and the Philadelphia Cultural Fund, the principal supporters for the city's $3.4 billion creative arts industry, generating annual tax revenue of $157 million until council completes the city's fiscal year 2021 budget and recovery plan for the COVID-19 pandemic, introduced by Councilman O.
Chair again recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to thank the co-sponsors, Council Members Quinones Sanchez, Squilla, Parker, Dom, Thomas, Gautier, Green, Gim, and Gilmore Richardson, along with the rest of council members. I know it is a very, very difficult situation that this city faces. Very challenging for the mayor, the administration, everyone here. I just do think, as many of our colleagues do, that Philadelphia is a city of eds and meds, arts and culture. $3.4 billion with annual revenues in the area of $157 million and a key role in reopening our economy. We simply ask the administration, rather than to zero out the budget and close the office on June 1st, to at least let council have the opportunity to take everything into consideration and to leave those offices open, those staff employed until we have had a chance to review the total budget and make our final decisions. And with that, I'd ask that we adopt the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
There are no other resolutions in the final passage calendar, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. With that, we will move to speeches. Prior to me recognizing members regarding speeches, I will note for the record at this time that we will use the chat feature available in Microsoft Teams to allow members to signify that they wish to be recognized. In order to comply with the Sunshine Act, the chat feature must only be used for this purpose. With that said, are there any speeches on behalf of the minority? And any speeches on behalf of the majority? And I see Councilwoman Gim.
Thank you very much, Council President. I join with my other colleagues as well in extending my deepest sympathies to our colleague Kenyatta Johnson on the loss in his family, and just, we'll send him all of our best. I also wanted to just make a few remarks about the bill that I and 9 other members of City Council introduced. It has been almost 69 days since the first Pennsylvania stay-at-home order was issued in our Commonwealth. In the past 10 weeks, thousands of essential workers have showed up to their jobs, keeping grocery shelves stocked, stocking our warehouses and delivering packages, caring for our loved ones in nursing homes, hospitals, and healthcare centers, and keeping our transit systems running and our buildings and streets clean. They are doing this despite the fact that many of them are doing so at a minimum wage that is the lowest of any big city in America. They are doing so despite a state legislative body that is rushing to reopening without guaranteeing personal protective equipment, adequate testing, without guaranteeing health care, without a $15 minimum wage, and without appropriate labor protections. Many of us on this council body have heard their stories. Some of them have been horrifying, as they dealt with a lack of protective equipment and a struggle for basic health protections like hand washing. They are the least paid, the most overworked, the least respected, and they have fought hard in this city council body to get the respect that they deserve, from winning a fair work week to expanded paid leave to a permanent Department of Labor. And that's why I was proud to introduce a bill that will protect workers when they make sure that their workplaces are healthy for themselves, their fellow workers, and the public at large. The bill that 10 of us introduced will prohibit employers from retaliating against workers who report or expose noncompliance with the governor's and mayor's public health orders that make sure that all businesses have the policies in place to prevent viral spread and infection. I really want to thank my council co-sponsors, council members Brooks, Gautier, Gilmore Richardson, Heenan, Johnson, Jones, Quinones Sanchez, Squilla, and Thomas. Over the next few months, Pennsylvania and our city will begin to reopen, and we cannot afford health protections to fall by the wayside. We have a responsibility to the public and to workers to open with the most careful attention to public health and worker safety so that there is no second wave. This is an incredible challenge that we face, and we have to realize that there is no way this happens without all of us working together to make sure that the mandated safety protocols are being followed. Some businesses have been fantastic on this front. They're changing uniforms, deep cleaning their facilities, and limiting occupancy. But we can't leave it to chance, and it is something that many businesses are deeply concerned about. Customers want to know that the places they are entering are safe. Businesses want to make sure that they are following appropriate protocols. Workers are on the front lines of ensuring all of that, because if they are not safe, none of us are safe. This bill is for every worker out there who has worked for too long without the respect that they need and deserve. And now it's a matter of life and death. Too many people have suffered, gotten sick, and even died while we have struggled to enforce safety protocols. And I refuse to sacrifice these service workers. The least we can do is to tell them that we have got your back, and we will do our part if your employer flagrantly violates publicly mandated health orders. This city will get your back. This city will protect you. We owe it to the public, to our essential workers, to give them the protection, the dignity, and the security of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. We've offered condolences to Councilmember Johnson. I think it's appropriate that we have a brief moment of silence on his behalf.
We will now have a moment of silence on behalf of Councilman Johnson's family and the passing of his sister. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Maria Quinones Sanchez.
Thank you, Council President. I want to thank you and the leadership team for adding a Thursday session to our calendar for this spring-summer session. It allows us more time to be more deliberate as we make very tough choices about the budget. In my experience, this council has always taken the leadership role in ensuring that the budget reflect the top priorities for our city and for our residents. The budget is a moral document. I look forward to working with you and all of my colleagues, and I want to thank all of them who all in the last few weeks have facilitated many tough discussions with different sectors, from the housing sector to the hotel to the restaurant and others. This budget has to protect the city's most vulnerable and at the same time show that we are proactively moving from a crisis to a recovery. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. There appears to be no additional speeches on behalf of members. So with that, I now recognize Councilman Jones for a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that council stand adjourned until Thursday, June 4th, 2020 at 10 a.m.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and probably second that council stand adjourned until Thursday, June 4th, 2020, 10 a.m. All those in favor will say aye.
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 Everybody participated in that one.
Aye.
Point of order, Mr. President. I just want to check the record. I see Councilman Alan Downs' name in the chat box.
Oh, I didn't see it. It's not on my, oh, okay, it just popped up. Oh, we're kind of like in the middle of a motion. Due to the unprecedented circumstances associated with the COVID-19, we will dispense of the rules traditionally once a motion has been established, and we will now recognize Councilman Down. Councilman Down. Councilman Down, after all that, you really need to get on that. Okay.
Oh, you tried.
All right. We're going to start over again. We now recognize Councilman Jones for a motion to adjourn.
Well, thank you again, Mr. President. I move that council stand adjourned until Thursday, June 4th, 2020 at 10 a.m.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly seconded. Council stand adjourned until Thursday, June 4th, 2020, 10 a.m. All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Motion carries. I want to thank you all very much in these very challenging times as we continue to do the people's business. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Hang in there. Stay safe.
And mask up, Philly.